Hello everyone, it's Nikki. Welcome or welcome back. Today I have a fun DIY for you using a Saltines box from Sam's Club. I've had this in my stash a hot minute and I knew immediately that I wanted to create something with it. Up until I got a silicone mat, I covered my paper with this craft paper and it barely, for the pieces that barely had any usage, I saved them, and this is one of them. So I ran a bead of glue right at the fold, and I wanted the seam to run along this side. That way, both the front and back would look nice and clean. So I used a bit of masking tape, and then I ran a bead of glue all along the side to secure it. This was a really fun project, and I always enjoy using things I already have in my home, or, for instance, a piece of trash that I can create something beautiful with. A lot of people are sharing their fall projects right now, and I thought I'd jump right on that bandwagon too. I've already created some content and shared that with you guys. So, from now right up until New Year's, you'll definitely see plenty of Christmas sprinkled in, but I also plan on keeping lots of fall and even Halloween in the mix. I enjoy Halloween very much. So, as you can see, I'm wrapping this just like a Christmas package, folding the sides, but I'm also making sure I'm incorporating lots of glue because I want to make sure that this stays together nicely. What's so perfect about this project is everything I already had in my home. I didn't buy anything, and I absolutely love that feeling. I have so many things that I need to flip right now, and things that have been in my stash forever, and I really need to use what I have here. One thing I have trouble with is using stuff I have. I think I need to go out and buy things. And then what happens? It goes in my stash and that continues. And I think I need to save things. So when it comes to craft items, I have a hoarding tendency. And even though the rest of my house is very neat and organized, for some reason, in the aspect of crafting, I hold on to things, and I'm really trying to get better about doing that because I don't need to hold on these things. I need to create content and do the things that I love, and that's creating. I want her hat to be oversized, so I'm using this burlap I got at Goodwill and just kind of eyeballing about how big I want it to be. I'm sorry if you guys can hear my dog's nails clicking in the background. I really need to cut them and I need my husband home to help me. It's kind of hard because we work opposite schedules, but we end up making it work. I'm not entirely sure how big this is. I think it's at least like 2.5 feet. It's hard to tell, but I'm going to figure out exactly where I want her sweet little face to be and how I'm going to style the hat. Next, I drew her eyes in, and at first I had one of the eyes a little too close to the other, and it looked uneven. So I erased it and used my fingers as a guide for spacing. That actually worked out perfectly. Then I went ahead and drew the eyes in with a Sharpie. Whenever I'm working on a piece that's going to have a face, I really take my time with the eyes. They can make or break the whole project, so I slow down here and just try to get them just right. You know, you put a lot of work into something, you want the end result to be pleasing. And I'm really happy with how this one came out. One of the things that I love so much about making scarecrows is that every single one turns out a little different. Even if you tried to copy it exactly, it would still have its own personality. That's the charm. No two faces are ever the same, and that's what makes it so fun. I'm going to use this black chalk paint to color in the eyes because Sharpies tend to give a blue hue. It was hard to get that out, sorry. And I don't like that look, so I typically do go over a Sharpie with some black chalk paint. I'm going to do the same with the eyebrows that I drew in. I do end up going back and forth between several different brushes because it's really hard to do eyes with just one brush. It is for me anyway, and I get really nervous because I am so afraid of messing it up. Let me ask you, do you think it's a little too early for fall yet? Or are you still busy school shopping, maybe squeezing in those last minute summer vacations? Around here, we're kind of in between seasons. My husband's birthday is on the 20th, and I'm really excited for that because I'm going to take him for a burger and hopefully get some fresh Atlantic air. I'm drawing on a little triangle in the color Snow White by Waverly, and this is going to end up looking like candy corn. Whenever I'm making something that has a face, I scroll on Pinterest and get some inspiration from other creators. And when I saw this candy corn, I thought it would be perfect to add to this little scarecrow's face. I'm going to let that dry for a minute, and I'm going to take that same Sharpie marker and squiggly on its mouth. And I want it to look a little bit like barbed wire. So I'm going to add on these little lines, and I think that comes out looking real cute. And once I have her little mouth on, I'm going to grab one of my white paint markers and just draw a little line on the eyes. I'm going to do 2 coats on that. So I'm going to let that sit for a minute and grab my Distress ink in the color Worn Lipstick by Tim Holtz. And I like big pink cheeks. So I'm going to take my time and make these super pink and big, and they're going to be just adorable. This is one accent that I can get right out of hand with. I watch Craft Along with May, and she says, "No one was here to stop me, so I kept going." I love that. It makes me laugh, especially when I'm doing things like this, because I just can't help myself to just keep going. Her blush kind of faded out the sides of her mouth, so I'm drawing that back in. And then I'm going to go back over the little highlight with my paint marker. Once the white on her nose was just about dry, I'm going in with the color Pumpkin by Waverly for the bottom part. And that's going to give it that candy corn look. I'm really excited about this one. I love it. Then I'm layering in the color Maze just above that. And I kind of go back and forth here. You might not be able to see it on camera, but I like to blend the 2 colors together so it's not a harsh line. That way it looks more like real candy corn instead of just blocks of color. You'll have to tell me what you think. For the dot in her eyes, I'm using that same paint marker. And for her cheeks, I'm keeping that primitive look. So I'm using the same paint marker to add a little crosshatch design to each of them. And that really gives her that old-fashioned homespun charm. So cute. And I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with her hat. So I take out some upholstery, I can't even say it, upholstery thread and some of my needles. That needle is terrifying, by the way, and that's not even the largest one. I broke my largest needle and I ordered a whole new set, and I decided that I probably need some big ones, and boy, these ones are huge. So I'm just doing a running stitch through what's going to be the rim of her hat, and I don't tie it off until I get it placed where I want it on her head. This is real simple though. You go in and out of the fabric, and it's anyone can do it. It's easy peasy. Now this burlap is pretty thick. It's kind of hard to work with, but I just keep my patience. And I tie it off in the back, and what helps with when you got to tie something off is you tie it, but then you twist your string pieces or your thread, and then you tie it again, and that will keep it taut for you. I want our hat to have like a little curvature to it. So before I do that, I'm just gonna glue about where her hat's going to be placed. And then I start messing around with the detail on her hat. And if you didn't have burlap on hand, you can always use any kind of fabric. Even an old towel would look really cute. I mean, a scarecrow can be all sorts of things. And back when I was a kid and we made scarecrows, we took my grandpa's clothes and anything that was going to go to the thrift store to make one. So make it however you want. And give her like a bunch on the top of her hat. I'm doing that same running stitch through the top and tying that off in the back as well. I think this scarecrow comes out so cute. I didn't add any lashes to her, and looking back, I kind of wish that I would have, but I don't think that changes anything or takes anything away from her beauty. She is just absolutely adorable. You guys will have to tell me in the comments, do you think my scarecrow looks like a girl or does she look like a boy? To me, it doesn't matter. She can be both. Either way, I'm just curious what you think. I got this raffia from Hobby Lobby. It was $6.99. I got it 30% off. And I love the colors. They're perfect for fall. I'm going to take this pretty mustard yellow and I'm going to make her some hair. You don't see me adding a twist tie to the center, but that's what I use to keep it together. And I just figure out exactly where I want it placed, add some glue, and then pushed down the burlap into the glue in the hair. I'm going to keep going along, adding some definition to her hat by gathering it up a little bit, placing some hot glue. I do have to hold it for a second because, like I said, that burlap is so thick and it just wants to do whatever it wants to do. I really like this added touch. I folded that front piece back a little bit and held it there, and then I ended up taking my pencil and mushing down the hot glue so it would stay, and I just thought that was so cute. And I messed around with her hat a little bit. I'll just let you guys watch and see what I'm doing, but I just love how she's coming together. My Dollar Tree has had the cutest fabrics lately. Honestly, I've been so impressed the last couple of times I've stopped in because there's been so much new stuff. I thought it would be fun to give her a handkerchief, hanker, I don't know. I always second guess if I'm saying that right, but you know what I mean. I wanted it to look like she was wearing a little shirt first. So I took some drop cloth and wrapped it around to the back, and I just used some hot glue to hold it in place. And for the bottom, I just folded it up kind of like you're wrapping a present. Once again, I'm just going to eyeball how much fabric I need to cut. A handkerchief is basically a triangle, so that's what I'm going to cut it into. That way you can still see her little shirt peeking through the front, and I'll run a bead of glue along the top edge and then press the fabric right into the seam. Next, I'm grabbing this ribbon I picked up at Hobby Lobby last year on clearance at the end of the season. And I noticed they actually have it again this year, so you should be able to find it. I'm going to tie a little bow and then glue that right on top of where I folded the burlap up on the rim of her hat. And then I just trim off the ends. Next, I went in with some watered down black chalk paint that I keep on hand, and a dried piece of the paint from the rim actually fell right on her cheek, and I couldn't really fix it. I was so bummed about it. I was able to pick it off using my Cricut tweezers, but that didn't take away the black paint. In the end, it worked out fine because her hair covers it a little bit, and honestly, it just blends in. I even went in with some distress ink over her face to make it look a little bit like dirt. I mean, after all, scarecrows are out in the field, so it makes sense they'd be a little dingy and worn. I'm looking at it like she's a hardworking farm girl out in the fields all day, and of course, she's gonna have a little bit of dust on her cheeks. It just makes her look even more authentic and sweet in the end. I wanted to give her a side bang, so I gave her a little haircut and took that remaining hair and tied it off using a twist tie. I tucked it under her hat a little bit and secured it with some hot glue. So here she is, all finished, my little primitive scarecrow. I just love how she turned out, and even with that little paint spot on her cheek, she's got so much character, and the side bang does cover it for the most part, but she looks like a sweet little hardworking farm girl. I truly hope you enjoyed this project as much as I did. If you did, I'd be so thankful if you gave it a like and left a comment down below so I know. Your words always mean so much to me. I read every one. And if you're new here, I'd love for you to subscribe and join our little creative corner. I want this space to feel like a happy place where everyone feels welcome and inspired. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. Until the next one, guys. Bye.